12 executives from Trident sat across the conference table, eyes fixed on my slides. The room's acoustics magnified everything. The hum of climate control, the tap of a stylus, the soft creak of Italian leather. No one saw the notification. Only I did. Blood rushed to my ears. I paused for barely a microsecond, then kept going, steady voice, steady hands. And as you can see on slide 9, I said, the integration pathway creates a 26% efficiency gain within the first 2 quarters. 8 months of work ended in 8 seconds of text. I didn't plead. I didn't storm out. I finished the presentation. When Trident's CFO nodded at the final projections, I closed my tablet, thanked them, and walked out with the same measured confidence I'd walked in with. They thought silencing me mid-pitch would kill my influence. Instead, it killed their entire future pipeline. Because what Revengeful didn't understand was that I'd already built something they couldn't touch. My name is Julia Will. I was 36, a senior client strategist at Revengeful for nearly 5 years when they fired me. This is how I lost my job in 8 seconds, and how my former company lost everything afterward. 3 months before that day, our CEO, Grayson Hull, called me in. I need someone with your strategic mind, he said, leaning back in his chair. Something visionary but executable. You know the terrain better than anyone. He wanted a comprehensive proposal to merge our 3 strategic divisions, an idea long discussed, never pursued. I spent 3 weeks building it, a meticulous 78-page blueprint covering personnel integration, client communications, and a 24-month roadmap to minimize disruption and maximize growth. Cultural differences, workflow conflicts, system merges. I mapped it all. When I submitted it, Grayson looked genuinely impressed. This is exactly what we needed. Let me review with the board. 2 days later, a company-wide strategy meeting. At the front of the room stood Lucian V, 6 months into a deputy director role created just for him. Charisma for days. Ambition like a blade. As he clicked through slides, disbelief tightened in my chest. He was presenting my merger proposal, verbatim in places, as his work. My name erased, replaced by strategic initiative developed by Lucian V with contributions from the operations team. When our eyes met, there was no guilt, only challenge. Dare me to object. In public. I didn't. Not then. I nodded, kept a neutral face, took notes like everyone else. Colleagues murmured, impressed by Lucian's vision. Grayson watched, pleased with his deputy's apparent brilliance. That night, I created a folder on my personal drive, Altovia Systems. At first, it was just evidence. Screenshots of my original docs with intact metadata, email trails showing my submission to Grayson, access logs proving I'd been quietly stripped as document owner. I didn't know what Altovia would become. I only knew I needed to protect myself. The next weeks brought subtler cuts. Threads I used to lead, I was suddenly excluded. Documents I used to edit, downgraded to view only. Org charts where I'd held leadership, my name vanished. Then came my shadow, a junior strategist named Talia, bright, less than a year in. I'd mentored her when she joined. Now she was being positioned as my successor. We want Talia to shadow you on Trident, my supervisor said. Grayson thinks she's ready for top-tier exposure. I'm happy to bring her up to speed, I said. I didn't add what I already knew. This wasn't development. It was succession. The confirmation arrived in an HR calendar invite, position review. Morgan Frist, HR director, met me with a manufactured smile and a folder I wasn't allowed to open. We're assessing team structures for the merger, she said. Everyone's roles are being evaluated. Everyone's. I asked mildly. Of course, she replied, eyes flicking away. And Lucian's. A flicker of unease. Senior leadership is being assessed separately. I nodded as if that made sense. It made everything clear. That night, I activated Phase 2 of my contingency. Using contract clauses I helped draft, employees retained access to their own work product for portfolio purposes. I backed up only what I was entitled to: my frameworks, implementation roadmaps, templates, analytical models. No confidential client files, no proprietary data. Just the intellectual architecture that bore my fingerprints. I also reached out to 2 trusted ex-colleagues, Era Jennings, legal, and Darian Voss, audit. Over a quiet dinner, I told them, I'm building something new. It will exist parallel to Rivenex for now. If needed, it can stand alone. Era, cautious as ever, are you asking us to help you compete with your employer? That's how problematic. I'm not competing, I said carefully. Not yet. I'm building a structure that can operate independently, within my contract. Darian's smile was small and sharp. You're expecting to be pushed out. I'm preparing for all contingencies. By the time I walked into Trident for the final pitch, Altovia Systems was more than a folder. It had a legal entity, a skeletal operating framework, and 2 allies ready to flip the switch. The Trident engagement was my project from day one, a global manufacturing conglomerate overhauling customer engagement across 17 countries. I'd built the relationship, diagnosed the pain points, and designed a solution that would transform their customer experience and generate substantial recurring revenue for Rivenex. That morning, something was off. Lucian was in the prep room, smiling without warmth. Grayson thought I should observe, he said. Continuity after I was gone. The presentation began precisely at 10. I'd rehearsed every question, every detour. Trident's executives leaned in. Their CFO, famously difficult to impress, was nodding at my projections. I was mid-timeline when the termination notification appeared. I finished anyway. Then I walked straight to my car. No detour to my desk. No goodbyes. I already had everything that mattered. My phone buzzed with messages, confusion, rumors. I ignored them. It wasn't time for explanations. It was time to execute the plan that contingency had become. I drove to the small office I'd leased under Altovia's name 2 weeks earlier. Era and Darian were waiting. I'd sent our prearranged signal, Horizon activated. So they did it, Darian said. Not a question. During the Trident presentation, I confirmed, setting my bag down. Era's eyes widened. They fired you during a $72 million pitch? That's short-sighted. I finished for her. And it's going to cost them more than they realize. Within an hour, the systems we'd prepared went live. Altovia flipped from contingency to reality. Efficient, quiet, inevitable. Meanwhile, at Rivenex, the first tremors hit. Trident's CTO, Ariana Myers, emailed Grayson. We were impressed with Julia Will's presentation and are prepared to move forward. Please confirm Julia will be our primary contact for implementation planning. Rivenex replied, with legal and HR fingerprints all over it. Our implementation team led by Lucian V is ready to proceed. Lucian will be your primary contact. Ariana responded quickly. We prefer to continue with Julia Will, who has demonstrated exceptional understanding of our needs. Please advise if this is possible. Soon after, Trident postponed the contract signing. Official reason: internal review. Real reason: hesitation. While Rivenex scrambled, I made my first move. I emailed Ariana. As of today, I am no longer with Rivenex. I appreciate our work together and wish Trident success with your transformation. If I can assist under my new venture, Altovia Systems, please don't hesitate to reach out. No accusations. No bitterness. Just facts. Within 20 minutes, Ariana messaged Rivenex leadership. We are putting all discussions on hold pending a reassessment of partnership options. Please cancel scheduled meetings. Inside Rivenex, controlled panic. Grayson convened an emergency huddle. Lucian at his right hand. More pricing options. More concessions. They were solving the wrong problem. This wasn't about money or features. It was about trust. 8 months of carefully built relationship, discarded in 8 seconds. A week passed. Then another. Trident stayed polite and distant. Then Ariana requested a meeting with me. At Altovia. Our office was modest, thoughtfully set up. By the time she arrived, it looked like a company that had existed for years. I'll be direct. Ariana said once we invested significant time in this project, and your understanding has been the reason we were ready to move forward with Rivenex. She paused. What happened? Why remove you without transition, or even telling us? I believe Rivenex is restructuring, I said neutrally. They're entitled to personnel decisions they feel are best. That's very diplomatic, she said. I smiled. I prefer to focus on the future. And what does Altovia's future look like? She asked. We're a strategic implementation firm specializing in customer engagement transformations, I explained. Deep discovery, customized solutions, flawless execution. We're small by design, nimble, dedicated, accountable. What I didn't say, Altovia could deliver exactly what I'd proposed at Rivenex, because the architecture lived in my head, not their servers. Can you handle our scale? She asked. We have the expertise and frameworks in place, I said. We scale resources as needed. What we don't compromise on is strategic oversight. 2 days later, Trident terminated discussions with Rivenex and requested a formal proposal from Altovia Systems. When the news hit Rivenex, the impact was seismic. Grayson called me personally, anger barely contained. What did you do, Julia? Did you sabotage Trident? I informed them I was no longer at Rivenex, I said calmly. They made their own decision. You took our client. They were not your client, I replied. They chose the strategist they trusted. We'll fight this, he threatened. Your contract has non-compete clauses, which apply to existing clients, not prospective ones, I said. I drafted those clauses, Grayson. I know exactly what they prohibit. Silence. Recognition. This isn't over, he said. It is for me, I said and hung up. Trident was only the beginning. Within a month, 2 more major prospects I'd cultivated reached out to Altovia. They weren't loyal to a logo. They were loyal to competence. Rivenex began to slide. Engagement metrics, logins, usage, responsiveness fell. Without my relationship management, accounts grew quiet. Rumors filled the halls. No one knew I'd been fired mid-presentation. Everyone felt the vacuum. Talia, my protege and replacement, struggled. Lucian dazzled in rooms and failed in trenches. The 3-division merger, once mine, now distorted, created friction instead of synergy. Teams competed for oxygen. 3 months after I left, Rivenex lost another major account to a competitor that wasn't us. A third announced they were reevaluating their partnership. Dominoes don't need pushing when the table's already tilted. Altovia grew with discipline. We hired selectively, only people who valued strategic excellence and client outcomes. Our reputation spread not through advertising, but through results. Trident's transformation ran ahead of schedule and under budget. 6 months after my termination, Altovia and Rivenex went head-to-head for a global retail chain's loyalty overhaul. High profile. Defining. Rivenex brought Lucian and 4 specialists. Altovia brought me, Era, and our new customer experience director. We presented second, walking in as Rivenex walked out. Lucian's confident smile faltered for a heartbeat, then returned. I nodded. Kept moving. Our presentation was everything theirs wasn't. Focused, substantive, tailored. No jargon fog. Just an elegant framework and a plan that made sense. We won, not out of spite, but because Altovia was better. Inside Rivanex, denial shattered. Losing Trident could be dismissed as an anomaly. Losing a direct bake-off was market judgment. A week later, a message from Talia. "Can we meet for coffee? There are things you should know." She looked exhausted, the kind that sinks into bones. "They're imploding," she said. "The merger is a disaster. Departments aren't talking. Projects are stalling. Clients are furious." I listened. "Lucian keeps saying the framework is sound, that execution is flawed," she continued. "But people can see where your architecture was changed. And not for the better." "How do they know what my original looked like?" I asked. She smiled, small but real. "You think people don't talk? We know you're thinking. We can see what's missing." "Why tell me this, Talia?" "Because I'm leaving. Others are too. I want your advice." "Send me your resume," I said. Altovia is growing. 2 weeks later, Talia joined as Senior Client Relations Specialist, bringing her talent and a clear view of Rivanex's desperation. Grayson launched a renewal initiative, an admission the merger was failing. Lucian was quietly moved to a freshly minted innovation role, less client-facing, more ornamental. Morgan from HR left, replaced by a turnaround veteran. 9 months after my termination, the board removed Grayson as CEO. Official reason: strategic differences. Real reason: performance. Client retention down 22%. New acquisitions down 35%. Stock at a 5-year low. Shortly after, Lucian vanished from the website. No farewell. Just another erased name like mine months earlier. I didn't celebrate. I'd invested 5 years there. Good people remained, none of whom deserved the fallout. I focused on building Altovia into what Rivanex could have been, a firm that respects strategy, credits contribution, and centers clients. 1 year to the day after that notification, I walked into Altovia's new headquarters. We'd outgrown our first space and moved downtown. The lobby was simple, elegant. The Altovia logo, my name discreetly etched beneath it, founder and CEO. Trident's implementation? Complete, on time, under budget. 2 new projects already contracted. The retail chain's loyalty overhaul exceeded every metric, a case study in doing transformation right. Altovia employed 28 people, including 7 former Rivanex staff who wanted merit over politics. I stood in the lobby and let myself remember. I never sought revenge. I never aired what happened. I just built something better, and that hurt Rivanex more than any public fight could. When they fired me mid-presentation, they didn't just lose an employee. They lost their future. I was mid-sentence when HR fired me in front of 12 executives. I spent 8 months building that deal. They ended it in 8 seconds. They thought silencing me would kill my influence. Instead, it killed their pipeline. Because I'd already built what they couldn't touch. My reputation, my relationships, my strategic vision. Those never belonged to Rivanex. They belonged to me. When I walked out of that room with dignity intact, I wasn't ending a career. I was beginning its next, better chapter. My name is Julia Will, founder and CEO of Altovia Systems. This is only the beginning. I still think about that message. Employment terminated. Effective immediately. 6 words meant to end something. Instead, they began everything that mattered. In trying to silence me, Rivanex gave me the push I needed to find my voice. In trying to claim my work, they freed me to build something authentically mine. Firing me during my strongest professional moment launched me towards something greater. I never needed to fight them. They defeated themselves the moment they decided I was dispensable while my work was not. All I had to do was walk away, carrying the one thing they couldn't seize with a termination notice: my mind. Everything else followed. 2 years later, Altovia is 43 strong with offices in 3 cities. Rivanex still exists, diminished, partially acquired by a larger firm that valued their client list more than their operations. Grayson surfaces at events, careful to avoid me. Lucian reinvented himself at a distant startup, his online profile vague about dates. I don't define myself against them anymore. Altovia has its own identity, its own culture, its own place. We're known for strategic excellence, flawless execution, and unwavering client focus. Values I once tried to plant at Rivanex, now flourishing in better soil. The lesson? Power isn't in titles. It's in the value you create and the relationships you build. A termination notice can't take those. It can only release them, from potential energy to kinetic force, the moment an unsuitable environment lets go. I was mid-sentence when HR fired me. I finished the sentence, and then I started writing a new story, one where I hold the pen. That's the thing about silencing someone who has something real to say. The voice finds a way back. Louder. Clearer. Stronger. Rivanex didn't end my influence. They amplified it. I didn't need to point at what they did. I just needed to succeed where they were starting to fail. That has been revenge enough. The most satisfying part isn't watching them struggle. It's building something that embodies my values without compromise. A company where strategy is a mindset, relationships are partnerships, and credit goes where it's due. So yes, thank you for that notification 2 years ago. Without it, I might still be fighting for change inside a culture that resisted the values that now define Altovia. Instead, I lead by my own vision, surrounded by people who share it, not out of fear, but belief. That freedom is worth far more than the sting of an abrupt termination. If there's a moral, it's this. Sometimes being silenced means you've been speaking in the wrong room. Find the right room or build it, and your voice won't just return. It will resonate. I didn't build Altovia to compete with Rivanex. I built what Rivanex could never become. In the end, HR didn't fire me. They freed me. That notification was meant to be an ending. It was the beginning of everything that mattered. My name is Julia Will. This is my company, built with my mind, guided by my values, successful on my terms. No one can take that away with a 6-word message. No one ever will.